3 spine-chilling true stories of haunting alone at night. Unexplained terrors revealed. The clock struck midnight in Ohio, and Lisa's heart ached for the rare moments of sleep she couldn't enjoy. The hospital buzzed with life. A grimace of reality she had to endure every night: blood, sweat, and endless procedures. But none of that compared to the fear that clung like smoke in the air at home, looming in the shadows, hanging on the walls. Every shift, a piece of her left behind with her daughter, Mia, alone in the quiet house. Once inside, Lisa felt the weight of the universe pressing against her as she turned the key in the lock. She opened the door to the familiar chill inside. The dim hallway stretched out like an uninviting tunnel, shadows flickering menacingly under the flickering light. She called out for Mia, her voice thick with fatigue. No answer. It was then she noticed the way Mia's room door stood ever so slightly ajar, an already unsettling glimpse of disconnect in what was supposed to be a safe haven. "Mom!" Mia's voice trembled. Lisa rushed into her daughter's room. The sight almost stopped her heart. Mia was sitting up in bed, her face pale and haunted, eyes darting toward the basement door. "I heard something. It was dragging, like something heavy." "Sweetheart, it's late. You're just tired," Lisa said gently, although her own heart raced. She tucked Mia in tighter, the sheets funny in their familiarity. Yet the basement door stood open, as if inviting something malevolent to crawl out. She nibbled on her lip, hesitating as she leaned close to Mia. "Nothing's down there. You're safe." But the unease settled deeper, hardening like ice in Lisa's chest. Days crept by, each one colder than the last, and Mia's anxiety transformed the home into a haunted maze. She became convinced something hidden in the woods behind their house watched them, listened to their whispers. Still, Lisa couldn't shake her exhaustion, chalking Mia's fears up to the darkness of imagination. After all, what could possibly intrude upon their little life? When Lisa found the graffiti scrawled across the wall, "You're not alone," her heart plummeted. It was as if the air was heavy with a nameless dread. That simple phrase twisted into a snare, tightening around them. Each night grew darker with unspeakable tension, and the sound of rustling leaves soon felt ominous. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A nearby police officer merely shrugged at their worries. Just kids messing around. But as shadows elongated across their yard, Lisa felt despair. Nights blurred into one another until faint glimpses of someone darted between the trees. Shining eyes fixated on their home, as if it knew every secret held within. A chill gripped her. The wind whispered tales of warning as Lisa's instincts screamed. Just before midnight struck, frantic knocking shattered the silence. A panic in Mia's voice called from the depths of fear. "Mom, they're here." Apprehension coursed through her. Where could they hide when the monster was already inside? Lisa's breath caught in her throat. The knocking echoed through the house, each rap like a drumbeat driving her into a further spiral of panic. She glanced back at Mia, whose wide eyes glimmered with terror. "Stay here," she whispered, edging toward the door. Every step felt like wading through molasses, her legs heavy with fear. She braced herself against the wall, peering into the darkness beyond. The hallway stretched out, shadowy and foreboding, as if the very air conspired against her. Another knock. It was louder this time, more insistent, shaking the wood around her. "Mia, stay quiet, okay?" Lisa urged, keeping her voice low. As she moved down the hall, creeping closer to the front door, her heart thudded wildly in her chest. She glimpsed the basement door still yawning open in the corner of her eye, and the memory of that dragging noise sent cold shivers racing down her spine. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling as she steadied herself against the doorframe. Silence enveloped her, thick and suffocating. She grasped the doorknob, hesitating, uncertainty clawing at her insides. Then, an unmistakable sound erupted from the basement, a hollow thump, like something heavy being dropped on the floor. Lisa gasped, her hand faltering. Mia's voice quaked with fear, pulling Lisa back into focus. "It's okay, I've got to check. Just stay in your room," Lisa instructed, forcing courage she didn't feel. She moved back towards the stairs, hesitating at the top of the steps. The basement loomed, a dark abyss. She could feel the chill flickering around her, and her mind raced. Was it what Mia feared? Was it waiting for her, just out of sight? As she descended the stairs slowly, the temperature dropped further, and she fought the urge to turn back. The walls felt damp, the air thick with the smell of mildew and something rotten beneath. "Mom, don't go down there." Mia's voice trembled from the safety of her room. But Lisa needed to know. The thumps came again, louder this time, echoing up the steps. Something was down there, and her instinct screamed. She reached for the light switch. It flickered, then died, plunging her into a darkness so profound it swallowed her whole. "Stay where you are," came Mia's desperate shout, but the desperate sound dissolved in the silence around her. With her heart racing, Lisa fumbled in the dark, feeling the cool metal of the railing. A sudden rustle disturbed the air, followed by a slow, creaking sound. It was like the floorboards shifting under unseen weight. Her mind raced with possibilities. What kind of creature lurked below? Just then, a horrifying whisper pierced the tension, slithering through the damp air. "You're not alone." Lisa's blood ran cold. She turned to bolt back up the stairs when something grabbed her ankle, a vice grip of ice and darkness. A primal fear surged through her, and in an instant, she was on her back, fighting to free herself from whatever held her down. Mia screamed. With desperation fueling her strength, Lisa kicked, feeling the grip loosening. She scrambled to her feet, her heart thundering as she fled back up the stairs. Suddenly, the lights flickered back to life, flooding the basement in stark light, revealing nothing. Just shadows where shadows shouldn't be. The basement was empty. Yet, as relief washed over her, the chill in the air returned, and a low growl echoed from the depths, vibrating through the walls. She wasn't alone, not now, not ever. "Mia, lock your door," Lisa shouted, racing back to her daughter's room. But as she reached for the handle, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. "Mia!" Panic clawed at her throat, and she pounded on the door. "Mia, answer me." Behind her, the basement door creaked open slowly. Something cold and dark loomed behind her, whispering promises of dread. What could Lisa possibly do when the very walls of her home had turned against her? Lisa pounded on the door again, her heart racing. "Mia, please open up." Her voice cracked with desperation, echoing in the dark. The thud of her fists felt futile against the heavy wood, as if the house itself conspired in silence. The sound of her own panic drowned out the world around her. Behind her, the basement door hung open, a black maw beckoning. An icy breeze swept past her, as if something had just exhaled. She turned, and the growl sounded again, deeper this time. It resonated through her chest, a vibration of pure malice. "Mia," Lisa called again. No answer. Her breath quickened, her throat dry. She was out of time. She felt it. The floor beneath her rumbled slightly, as if something heavy moved below. Instinct screamed at her to run, but she swallowed her fear. She had to reach Mia. With one last desperate push, she shoved her shoulder against the door. It creaked ominously before giving way just enough for her to slip through. "Mia." The room was dark, the only light coming from the window through drawn curtains. It was too quiet, and the air hummed with tension. The safety of her daughter seemed just a heartbeat away, but as she took a step inside, she felt the weight of eyes on her, a prickling sensation that made her shudder. She rushed toward Mia's bed, but the sheets were untouched, the pillow still plumped. Panic gnawed at her insides. "Mia, where are you?" Then, a giggle echoed from the shadows, soft and mocking. Fear twisted in her gut. That laugh wasn't Mia's. It was something wrong, something broken. Lisa's breath froze. She turned slowly, scanning the room for the source. "Mia!" She shouted again, but her voice was weak, trembling. The air shimmered. A figure slipped through the darkness, barely visible. Dark hair fell over its face, but Lisa could feel its gaze boring into her. The laugh sounded again, and adrenaline surged within her. "No, you're not welcome here," she shouted, her voice firmer than she felt. As she inched backward, the figure approached, almost gliding across the floor. The emptiness where its eyes should be sent chills down her spine. It raised a hand, pointing silently toward the basement door. A command wrapped in malice. Lisa's breath quickened. She pressed her back against the wall, her mind racing. Where was Mia? The growling escalated, now a low rumble that vibrated through the walls. Was the creature above calling something from below? "Mom, what's going on?" The sound of Mia's voice broke through the darkness from the hallway. Relief flooded Lisa, but it was short-lived. The figure twisted its head, a sharp, twisted smile appearing as if it reveled in Lisa's fear. "Stay back, Mia!" Lisa cried, but the sound of heavy footsteps filled the basement, drowning out her words. The very walls seemed to close in, suffocating her with dread. "Mia, run!" Lisa lunged toward the sound, adrenaline pumping, but the figure moved faster, blocking her escape. The growl echoed closer now, a promise of horror. Lisa plunged forward, ready to fight, driven by maternal instinct. But before she could reach the door, it slammed shut, sealing her inside with the creeping shadow. She could barely see, but she felt it draw in closer, its breath on her skin like icy fingers. Then, a whisper curled around her. "You shouldn't have come here." With every nerve alive with fear, she felt her resolve slip away. The fight was failing. As darkness enveloped her, a horrifying thought crossed her mind. What if Mia had already fallen prey? Lisa's skin prickled with icy dread as she spun around, but there was only silence now. No Mia, no signs of life, just the chilling whisperings of the void. Moments stretched into eternity, and something shifted in the air. Something was watching. What was hiding just out of view, waiting for the moment she turned her back? Would she find Mia before it was too late? Lisa's heart hammered in her chest as she strained to hear any sound beyond the deep silence that swallowed her whole. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, pressing against her like the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes. The shadows around her twisted and danced, concealing the secrets of the room. "Mia!" she shouted, the word breaking into a broken whisper as desperation clawed at her throat. She felt as if she was swimming in darkness, each heartbeat echoing violently in her ears. The growl reverberated again, this time closer, more menacing, rumbling from the very depths of the basement. Felt like a warning. There was no way out. The heavy door loomed behind her, the polished wood now a solid barrier that mocked her escape. A chilling laugh pierced the air and sent ice through her veins. The figure stood just out of reach, teasing her sanity. "What do you want?" Lisa spat, her voice cracked with rage mingled with terror. She edged sideways, sensing that she had to keep moving. "Mia?" From the corner of her eye, something shifted. The shadows seemed to pulse rhythmically, as if the walls themselves were alive. Her mind raced to the worst possibilities. What if the creature had taken Mia? What if she was here, trapped, just like her? In that moment of desperation, Lisa sprinted toward the basement door, adrenaline coursing through her veins like wildfire. As she reached for the handle, an icy grip seized her wrist. Cold, unyielding fingers clamped down, drawing her back into the suffocating darkness. "Mommy?" A faint, trembling voice echoed from the depths below, a whisper that fractured any hope she fought to maintain. "Stop!" Lisa screamed, ripping her arm free. She turned back toward the sound, her breath quickening. "Mia, I'm coming!" The growling transformed into a mocking chorus of laughter, as if the very night itself was taunting her and her futile attempts to reach her daughter. The figure surged forward, a grotesque distortion of a familiar shape, rippling with malicious glee. "Mia, please answer me," She felt her strength waning as dread seeped deep into her bones. But she couldn't give up. Not now. The laugh intensified, a horrible symphony against her frantic heartbeats. As Lisa stumbled backward, her foot caught on something slick, sending her sprawling. The air knocked out of her lungs. She gasped, fighting to collect her thoughts amid the onslaught of fear. In that haze of panic, a movement caught her eye near the basement steps, a flash of dark hair. "Mia!" Lisa shrieked, scrambling to her feet. But as she lunged toward it, the dark figure whipped around, blocking her path with a twisted smile that seemed to stain the very light around them. "Don't!" it hissed, its voice like ice scraping her soul. Lisa felt the air shift, the space freezing around her as fear pierced her heart. "Get away from her!" she shouted, both defiance and terror in her voice. But as the shadows twitched, the laugh came again, guttural and tearing, then faded into an eerie silence. The figure slipped back into the darkness, leaving her alone with her racing thoughts. Had it taken Mia? Or was this something worse, an entity that thrived on fear, ready to devour them both? She felt it then, the compulsion to run, but where? The darkness offered no solace, and the shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own. "Mia, I love you." Silence. Something tightened around her throat. The shadows stirred, shifting as she felt the weight of something monstrous creeping closer. With dread flooding her senses, Lisa was paralyzed, teetering on the brink of despair. The last remnants of hope flickered like a dying flame. What if she had already lost Mia? Just then, a piercing scream erupted from the basement, shattering the darkness. "Mommy!" Lisa's heart plummeted. The scream was raw, full of fear. She had to act, had to find Mia. But the house felt alive now, a labyrinth of terror waiting to swallow her whole. As she darted toward the basement door, she hesitated, a primal instinct screaming for her to turn back, to run. Yet, every moment of indecision risked. Another second lost. "Stay with me, Mia." The scream echoed again, and Lisa's resolve ignited. She flung open the basement door, a chasm of darkness yawned before her. With one last look back into the grim silence of the house, she leapt into the abyss, determined to grasp whatever shred of hope remained. But as the door clanged shut behind her, she wondered what new horrors awaited her at the bottom. The bottom of the staircase was engulfed in a thick darkness, so oppressive it felt like a tangible force. Lisa hesitated, her breath shallow and quick. The screams echoed in her mind, drawing her deeper into the gloom. "Mia, I'm here!" she shouted, her voice trembling as she stepped cautiously down the creaking steps. Each footfall sent waves of dread rippling through her, the air around her heavy with an unsettling silence. Clawed at her insides, she gripped the banister tight, her knuckles white as she descended, half expecting something cold and clammy to reach out and snatch her back into the light. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from within the basement, making her jump. "Mia?" she called out again, desperation lacing her voice. The darkness seemed to breathe around her, swirling with unseen shadows, whispering secrets designed to torment her. "Mommy!" The voice was closer now. Lisa's heart raced as she bolted forward, instinct overriding fear. She stumbled into the basement, the stench of mildew and dampness assaulting her senses. Boxes littered the floor, clothes thrown askew, remnants of a life splayed sprawling in the shadows. "Help me!" The plea was muffled, almost drowned by the low growl that vibrated through her bones. It resonated, filling up the space with a sinister energy. "Mia, I'm coming!" Lisa screamed, her panic igniting newfound strength. She dove past the boxes, searching frantically through the tangled mess. The glaring absence of normal light left her scrambling for any sign of her daughter. There was no sign, only the stench of despair and something far worse lurking in the corners. The growling shifted, twisting into laughter that danced around her, a cruel melody that wrapped her tighter in its grip. As she scanned the clutter, fear gnawed at her. She wanted to scream, wanted to give in to the overwhelming terror encroaching on her mind, but she couldn't. Not yet. "Mia!" she howled, tears streaming down her cheeks. A torrential downpour of fear, hopelessness, and love bundled into one desperate cry. The shadows seemed to expand at her words, lurching toward her, mocking her cries. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted something, a flash of movement. In an instant, she was propelled forward, heart hammering as she edged toward where she thought she saw Mia. "Mia, is that you?" Lisa's voice wavered, desperate for a response, but dread twisted her stomach. The darkness pressed in tighter, and the growl morphed into a sound that chilled her, an imitation of her daughter's innocent giggle. Cold dread washed over her. This was not Mia. This was something sinister, taking shape from her worst nightmares. "Leave her alone," Lisa shouted, her voice breaking. Then she turned, ready to face whatever darkness lurked behind her. Nothing. The silence was deafening, a quiet too profound to bear. But then she heard it. The creaking of the floorboards, a tender shift that was unmistakably close. Panic surged. "Mia?" she whispered, stepping back. But the floorboard creaked again with a chilled, taunting rhythm. Something was playing with her, circling her. Eerie shadows flitted along the walls, morphing into grotesque shapes that sent waves of terror coursing through her. They elongated, stretching and undulating, as if to envelop her whole. "Mia!" she gasped, backing away slowly. But in the suffocating darkness, Lisa felt hopelessly lost. Suddenly, the unseen presence surged toward her, a rush of cold air that stole her breath. She gasped, stumbling backward, taking a moment to regroup. There, in the far corner of the basement, she saw a faint glow, some sort of light flickering. Could it be Mia? With a surge of adrenaline, Lisa propelled herself forward, racing toward the light, her heart hammering against her ribcage like a caged animal desperate for escape. But the growling erupted again, this time louder, more insistent. It clawed at her sanity, twisting the darkness into spirals of despair. As she neared the glow, movement flickered in her peripheral vision, a figure darting past, trailing shadows like a living nightmare. "Mia!" The basement shook, the laughter and growling merging into a cacophony that shattered her resolve. Whatever was down here thrived on her fear, and it knew it. Was it too late to save her daughter? She felt the walls closing in, the darkness swallowing her whole. The glow flickered again. It was brighter now, revealing something tucked against the wall, a shadowy outline of something petite. The air felt electric. Was this her chance? Or had it all been a mirage crafted to lure her deeper into the trap? Lisa lunged, adrenaline pushing her forward, racing against time, against the horror closing in yet again. But as she reached for the flickering light, a hand latched onto her ankle, dragging her back into the endless depths of despair. "Mommy!" The cry rang out again, desperate and haunting. But Lisa was snatched from the light just as she felt it slip through her grasp. The dread coiled tighter around her, and with a forceful pull, she vanished into the shadows. What would it take for her to escape the darkness that desperately wanted her? Would she find Mia before it was too late? Or was this the end of her fight? The world around Lisa twisted and warped as she was pulled deeper into the darkness. Panic surged through her veins, her heart racing faster than ever. She gasped, desperately clawing at the unseen hand gripping her ankle, its coldness seeping into her skin. She could feel the laughter pulsating all around her now, a maddening symphony of cruelty playing just for her. "Let me go. I have to find her," she screamed, the edges of her voice splintering off into the abyss. But the shadows merely tightened their hold, dragging her away from the flickering light that had once offered hope. As she was pulled into the blackness, the growl transformed into whispers, faint and taunting, wrapping around her mind like creeping vines. "You shouldn't have come here," the voices hissed, each word dripping with malice. "Please, I'm not afraid of you. I will find my daughter," Lisa declared, though every ounce of confidence in her voice trembled. She felt the truth coiling inside her. Fear coursed through her, worming its way through her resolve. She was terrified. In the distance, another scream erupted, a sound all too familiar. Mia's. Hearing it cut through Lisa like a knife. It reignited her strength, boiling away the shadows that suffocated her. With a sudden jerk of her body, she kicked at the hand holding her, the darkness resisting but faltering slightly. Seizing the moment, Lisa pulled her foot free and scrambled forward, pressing toward the dim glow still flickering on the wall as she neared it. The shadows shifted, writhing like angry serpents. "Stay away," they hissed, but she didn't care. She had to reach that light, for Mia's sake. The glow seemed to pulse with life, tempting yet evasive. Mommy Mia's voice floated through the chaos, muffled and desperate, sending a surge of adrenaline coursing through Lisa. She stumbled forward, arms stretched out as if to shield Mia from the darkness consuming them both. Just steps away from the light, she felt resistance, something hard and cold barrier-like, as if the shadows conspired to keep her from reaching the last thread of hope. The laughter echoed again, filling the air with dread. "Let her go," Lisa screeched, the intensity of her voice harmonizing with fury. Standing her ground, she braced herself against the specters wrapping around her. Gritting her teeth, she forced herself to push against the darkness. The laughter faltered, and she caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of her eye. A figure danced just beyond the edge of the light, almost like a shadow but somehow distinct. "Mommy! Help!" The cry was clearer now, almost tangible. "Mia!" Lisa gasped, taking another step forward, spirit rekindled. She lunged toward the flickering glow, stretching her fingertips as far as they could go. But in that moment of hope, the ground beneath her trembled violently, and mist swirled around her, thickening into a fabric of nightmares. Suddenly, the laughter erupted into a deafening roar, shaking the very air around her. Lisa stumbled, disoriented, the shadows projecting hellish images of her worst fears, her daughter in peril, ghosts of her past, endless corridors closing in around her. "Mia!" she cried again, but the shadowy figure flickered and dissolved, lost to the encroaching darkness. Lisa's breath quickened, terror bubbling in her throat as the weight of despair threatened to crush her. "Please, no. Don't take her." As she fought against the pull of the unknown, clawing back toward the light that seemed almost graspable, a blinding flash erupted, momentarily illuminating the basement. Shadows recoiled and her surroundings shifted. Was that Mia? But as quickly as it came, the light faded, leaving Lisa confronted with a shadow unlike any she had seen before. It loomed high above her, its form malleable, shifting like smoke, yet undeniably filled with malice. "Join us," it rasped, a voice so cold it felt like icy fingers wrapping around her throat. "You cannot resist." The last flicker of hope vanished as darkness surged around her again, drowning out her resolve. A quiet, sinister whisper filled her ears. "You will lose everything," and in an instant, everything went black. What had happened to Mia? Was there really a way out? All answers slipped away, and Lisa's heart sank. She struggled to remember, to find that fleeting light again, but a heavy fog enveloped her mind. Which way should she go? As Lisa teetered on the brink of hopelessness, the voice shifted, taking on a different tone. "You think you're the mother, but what if I told you she's waiting for you to join her?" Those words clawed at her sanity. Could it be true? Had she really lost Mia? The echo of that last phrase ricocheted off the walls as Lisa stood at the threshold of despair, with only shadows and unanswered questions swirling around. What awaited her in the darkness? Would she succumb, or find the strength to fight back? Lisa floated in a void, slivers of memory slipping through her fingers like sand. Mia's laughter haunted her mind, drowning out the twisted whispers of the shadows. "You're lost, Lisa." The voice slithered again, echoing in that endless dark. "She is waiting. Don't you want to hold her again?" "No," Lisa shouted, the word breaking through the fog of despair. "I want to leave her." With every ounce of strength, she called out for Mia again, willing her voice to cut through the oppressive darkness. But each cry felt feeble against the laughter that rippled around her, as if the shadows were feeding on her fear, growing bolder, more malevolent. Then she remembered. The flickering light. Was it a figment of her mind? Or something real? Something tangible? Lisa focused, reaching deep into her thoughts, struggling to recall that bright glow. As she concentrated, anxiety twisted her gut. What if she found the light again only to discover more darkness waiting? Suddenly, A sensation pulled at her left foot, a tugging, like fingers scratching against her ankle. Lisa gasped, glancing down into the thick dark at her feet. Her heart raced as terror gripped her. Panic clawed at her throat, choking back her breath. She kicked hard, feeling whatever held her slip just a fraction of an inch. It was enough to fuel her desperation. "I'm coming for you, Mia. Just hold on," she gasped, realizing her determination forged a path through the dark. The laughter began to fade, replaced by her own fierce heartbeat drumming a rhythm of hope against the omnipresent despair. Taking a deep breath, Lisa propelled herself forward, feeling the shadows flinch away from her resolve, retreating as if they feared her growing strength. She stumbled, but refused to fall. Each step led her closer to that distant glow. Was it real? Her heart ached for the answer, thumping time, asking for clarity. The whispers grew sharper, more accusatory. "Turn around, Lisa. You know the truth. Just look back, no," she shouted defiantly, drowning them out. "I won't let you take me." Determined to fight her way back to the light, she pressed on, pushing against unseen forces that clawed and tugged, trying to drag her into the waiting void. Just as it seemed the shadows would consume her entirely, her hand brushed against something solid and cool, the hard surface of a wall. Spurred on by the contact, she grasped it, using it to pull herself along. "Please, God, let this be it," she whispered, with fear igniting a desperate prayer. The light flickered again ahead, pulsing and beckoning. It seemed alive, swirling into shapes a promise of escape or a lure into betrayal. The laughter subsided to a soft, sinister chuckle. "You think it's freedom, you'll soon discover the price," ignoring the taunts. Lisa pressed forward until she collapsed against the wall. With her heart racing, she gathered her remaining courage and stepped toward the light. But just when it seemed she would breach the barrier, her breath caught in her throat. The flickering intensified, casting shadows that whipped across the walls like chains ready to snatch her back. "Join her," a voice whispered once more, this time soft, sweet, a familiar sound. "Mommy," her soul twisted. Mia's voice replaced the laughter, sweet and pleading, urging her to step into the luminescence, to lift her daughter from the dark. Could she? As she reached out toward the glow, a figure emerged, a silhouette that shifted and shook in the light. Was it Mia? A sense of hope and dread clashed within her. What if she wasn't really there? Lisa's heart pounded as she took a half step forward, trembling. "Is that you, baby?" she stammered, trying to shield her heart from further heartbreak. Just then, the shadows lunged forward, merging into a shape that writhed and reached for her neck, cold and unyielding. In that moment, fear surged through her, and she realized the chilling truth. The darkness wasn't just trying to keep Mia away. It was trying to consume Lisa too. "No!" she screamed, feeling her fingers brush against a warm hand, the warmth she had been searching for, the warmth of her daughter. But could she hold onto it? Or would the abyss devour them both? With every ounce of her being, she took one final desperate leap toward the light, ready to either save her daughter or face the darkness together. What would await them on the other side? Lisa's heart threatened to burst as she felt that warmth against her fingers. The flickering light pulsed dangerously, rhythmically, as if aware of the turmoil unfolding. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, a wild cocktail of fear and hope. "Come to me, Mommy," the voice coaxed, a delicate whisper that echoed like a fragile melody, reverberating off the shadows that writhed around her. "I need you, we can be together." But with each sweet call, another shadow surged forward, stretching its icy fingers toward her, grasping at her throat, tightening like a vice. Lisa's breath quickened, the warmth of her daughter's hand flickering like that haunting light. "No! Stay away!" she yelled, fiercely tugging at her daughter's grasp, feeling the shadows wrestling her essence, threatening to unravel everything she fought for. "Mia!" The name slipped from her lips like a bittersweet prayer. That instant, the shadows recoiled, as if her voice was an incantation. The light surged, growing brighter, illuminating the dark corners of the void. For a moment it felt like salvation. She could nearly grasp her daughter's face, sweet and innocent, glowing in that brilliance. Yet the sinister echoes returned, snarling with an insidious hunger. She isn't real, she's just a shadow. Just like you just then. The bright light flickered violently, almost sputtering out like an old bulb gasping for life. Lisa's heart dropped. Every ounce of her desire to save Mia felt like a noose pulled tighter around her throat as panic clawed at her. Fighting back the dread, she squeezed Mia's hand, trying to anchor herself to the warmth. I'm here. I'm always here. But the coldness crept back, wrapping around her and Mia, pulling them apart, straining under the weight of confusion as some part of her yearned to believe. Shadows recoiled and seemed drawn toward her. They swirled, turning into a hideous form, morphing into twisted features that the darkness carved from nightmares she couldn't remember. Do you really believe it's possible? One of the shadows hissed, curling around her, icy tendrils brushing against her skin. To escape? To cling to something that isn't even real? You are bound to this void as much as the shadows themselves. The delicate voice of her daughter pierced the malevolence, a single note of warmth in the cacophony of terror. Mommy, don't listen, please. Lisa shifted, feeling the warmth slip, uncertainty flickering. No, I want to let you go. With a scream echoing through the void, she tore herself free, yanking Mia's hand with brutal force. The shadows shrieked in agony, as if her defiance struck them like a whip. In a frenzy, she stumbled toward the light, heart slamming in her chest with every desperate breath. But just as they neared, a ripple danced across the surface of the light, turning it into a blinding storm of chaos. The familiar silhouette warped and twisted. The shadows cackled in glee, growing bolder with every step Lisa took. You can't save what's already lost, no. With everything inside her, she lunged. A deafening crash vibrated through her body as it felt like she had burst through a barrier, a membrane of pure dread. The cold darkness didn't relent. It surged, clinging to her as she broke into what felt like the other side where the shadows were still waiting, only cloaked in a new form. Lisa gasped, inhaling sharp breaths, reality flooding back. Only it looked wrong. Was she back? Where were the warm hands of her daughter? Had she merely stepped into another layer of despair? The silence was thick. The shadows coiled just out of sight, waiting and watching. And then, from the darkness, she heard its soft, familiar laughter. Mia? But it had changed, warped into an echo of her own terror. Just then, from behind, a faceless figure stepped forward, cloaked in shadow, leaning into the dim light. The contours were familiar, but the edges were darker, sharper. Mommy, confusion swept through her as she took a shaky step back, the shadows rushing to fill the space she created. A terrifying realization clawed its way up from the pit of her stomach. Who are you? What had she unleashed? The figure smiled, grin stretching impossibly wide, an embodiment of everything Lisa feared. And the laughter, oh the laughter. Here, in the fading light, the darkness was only beginning to settle in. What horrors awaited in this new reality? Lisa's hands trembled as the shadowed figure stepped closer, its grin now a menacing crescent that reflected all her worst nightmares. Mommy, it purred, the voice just distorted enough to unsettle her. Get away from me, she shouted, feeling a primal fear swell within her. She stumbled backward, desperate to distance herself from the entity, but the ground seemed to shift beneath her feet. The distant laughter morphed into a cacophony of whispers, swirling around her head and tightening the grip of terror in her chest. Dread pooled in her stomach, hot and churning. It felt like the walls of her sanity were closing in, and for a moment, she had the overpowering urge to scream, to shatter the silence that smothered her. Did you really think you could escape? The voice of the figure dripped with mockery. You brought me here, Mommy. You called for me. I've always been here, waiting. With each word, the shadows thickened, swirling around her, pulsing with a life of their own. The chill seeped into her bones, and Lisa fought the urge to cry out again. She had to pull herself together. This creature, whatever it was, fed off her fear. Where's Mia? She gasped, desperation clawing at her throat as she searched the obsidian void that surrounded them. "Where is my daughter?" "Right here," it said with an unsettling sweetness, gesturing behind itself. The shadows parted briefly, revealing a flicker of warmth in the shape of a small child. But as Lisa strained her eyes, the image warped and twisted, flickering like a faulty projection. It was no longer Mia's radiant smile but a dark form distorting her daughter's likeness. "No, no." Lisa shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. The truth pressed heavily against her, its weight suffocating. "You're lying. You're not my Mia, am I?" The shadow figure grinned wider, splitting the air with sinister delight. "You've lost her, Mommy. You can't save what's already lost. You're the one who brought me here." Suddenly, a scream burst from Lisa's lips. It consumed her, a raw wave of agony clawing its way from her soul into the void. The shadows shrieked in response, buckling, simmering. "No, I refuse to believe you." Drawing on an ancient survival instinct, she focused, tapping into the warmth that Mia had always represented. With every ounce of strength, she summoned forth a substance from beyond the shadow's love. "Mia, I'm here. I will always choose you." The cacophony faltered, the shadows recoiling, unsure of how to handle her defiance. She could feel Mia's presence fighting back alongside her, as if they were tethered by a glowing cord, stretching across the yawning abyss. But the figure remained resolute. Its form flickered, now flickering with anger, the laughter morphing into a low growl. "Love won't save you. It binds you to me." Lisa could feel the connection tightening, the shadows elongating as they wrapped around her mind, distorting her thoughts. Panic surged anew. What was real? What was an illusion? "Mia!" she cried out, her voice breaking, thick as molasses. "Don't let go. I will find you." With a roar, the shadow creature lunged forward, arms outstretched as if to embrace her into a cold darkness. Lisa braced herself, drawing every bit of courage from the flickering love she held for her daughter. She wouldn't let fear win, not today. Then came the moment. The world around her shifted, swirling faster, merging reality and nightmare. The light endured blinding, pure it enveloped her like fire, and she felt herself being pulled apart in a flash of brilliance and despair. But just before the light consumed her, she caught a glimpse of something, a doorway in the swirling shadows, a sliver of safety. Could she reach it? The pull of the shadow figure was relentless, yet the doorway glimmered in stark contrast. She had to choose. And then there was silence. That breathless pause. A question ripped through the air: what if you lose everything trying to save her? As the shadows tightened their grasp, Lisa's heart pounded, teetering on the precipice of despair and hope. Would she dare to grasp the light, or would she remain forever bound to the darkness? She took a step toward the doorway, fear electrifying her every nerve. And then, in the dimming light, a new laugh rang out, clear, joyous. "Mommy!" Who was it? The shadows pressed closer, engulfing her vision in a cacophony of horror and warmth. What awaited her on the other side? With a sudden burst of clarity, Lisa thought of Mia. Her laughter, her joy, the light that filled their lives. This was not the moment to fall apart or give in to despair. She breathed deeply, feeling that warmth swell in her chest. "I won't lose you, Mia," she shouted into the darkness, her voice echoing with fierce determination. "I choose love." The shadows hesitated. The sinister figure lunged again, but Lisa was ready this time. She sidestepped, focusing on that glimmer of light in the swirling chaos. Codependency with despair was not the answer, it never had been. She sprinted towards the doorway, ignoring the icy fingers clawing at her skin. "Let her go," echoed through the void, the command rumbling with conviction as she approached the doorway. The shadows writhed in rebellion, hissing like serpents. But in her heart, Lisa could feel her daughter's spirit rallying beside her. The malignant laughter that filled her ears shifted to confusion, unable to fathom her defiance. "I am her mother," she bellowed. The door shimmered brighter as Lisa clasped the edge. The dark entity faltered, twisting as if it were to be banished. I will take her hands, not your darkness. Lisa pressed on, lunging through that sliver of blinding light. The shuddering shadows echoed with rage, gripping at her heels as she surged forward. And then she stepped through. The world exploded in rays of clarity. Sunlight flooded her senses as she stumbled onto soft grass. She blinked, feeling warmth envelop her. Had she succeeded? The suffocating dread lifted, replaced with the sweet scent of flowers dancing in the summer air. "Mama!" A sweet voice broke through, breaking the silence, and Lisa gasped. There stood Mia, live and radiant, her arms wide with innocent joy. The twinkling sunlight played off her curls, illuminating her face into a beacon of pure love. Lisa rushed forward, falling to her knees as they collapsed into an embrace, tears pouring down her cheeks. "You're here. You're really here. I knew you'd come for me," Mia whispered, her voice lilting like a song, pure and beautiful. In that moment, Lisa felt a weight lift off her soul. The shadows had no hold here, not where love thrived amid the light. Together, they baked warmth in their hearts, banishing the fears to a distant memory. "Are you okay?" Lisa asked, her voice heavy with concern that melted into relief. Mia nodded, her eyes bright with untouchable innocence. "I knew you wouldn't let me go. The shadows tried to trick me, but I'm so glad you found me." Lisa shuddered, realizing how close she had come to losing everything. All the pain, all the despair faded into the horizon of a new dawn. It felt like the clouds above parted, revealing a brighter sky with birds soaring freely. Hand in hand, they stepped into the world together again. No shadows, no darkness, just a promise of new beginnings. At this moment, everything felt right. "I love you, Mia," Lisa breathed, holding her daughter tighter, a beautiful melody echoing against the laughter of the world around them. "I love you too, Mommy." And as they shared that embrace, the memories of the nightmarish darkness faded far into the distance, eclipsed by the vibrant energy of the sun, promising that they would never be apart again. This is the moment you need to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. You need to do this. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't even wait one more second. Only true fans understand the power of supporting the channel through these actions.